Hey guys, it's Jackie. I'm in the 11 o'clock Teach 219 class, and I'm going to be telling you about my SketchNote. It's kind of a long one here, and of course, I chose to have a little fun with this, and I made my SketchNote on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And I'm actually wearing my Gryffindor shirt right now, which is, that was not on purpose. I've just been wearing this all day. And the reason I picked this to do this fun little sketch note is because during this, quarantine, social distancing, pandemic we've got going on right now, my boyfriend and I have decided to, I have decided to reread all of the Harry Potter books for the, whatever, fifth or sixth time I've read these, and he's reading them for the first time. So I'm reading them out loud to him, and it's been really fun. And so we're on the Chamber of Secrets right now. We're almost done with that, but we just finished Sorcerer's Stone. So I have my very old copy of the book right here. And so I thought about making my sketch note to kind of resemble the story. And so basically what I did with it is I was going to do more like a timeline, but then as I got into it, I decided to make it like a chapter by chapter and kind of pull like what I thought was an important quote or like just like my favorite quote from the chapter. And it does tell the story. And I really like, before I get into explaining, I did not know that sketchnoting was called sketchnoting. This is something that I do. I have a bullet journal. If any of you know what a bullet journal is, it's a way of journaling, but it's, with images and drawing. And I've been really into art lately as a form of expression, and I love to draw and stuff. And so having a bullet journal has been really special for me, especially, making lists, making calendars, just taking normal organization things that I like to do, like having a planner and having a calendar, but then turning them into taking a more artistic approach to it. So just like I said, I didn't know that this was called sketchnoting. So I really liked reading about it and watching the video about it. And I really liked seeing everyone else's examples of what they chose. Some people, some people did more academic works, whereas I did one of my favorite books, Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone. Well, I wouldn't say that's my favorite Harry Potter book, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, so I'm gonna take you through this. So first I have the first chapter, The Boy Who Lived, and I have a quote there from Dumbledore, and then I go to chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass, where Harry talks to the snake. Then I have Chapter 3, Letters from No One, which we all know, no post on Sundays. Then I go to Chapter 4, Keeper of the Keys. So I drew kind of like a scroll type thing, like how Hagrid delivers his letter finally. It says, "Harry, you're a wizard." I'm a what? So everyone knows those lines. Then we go over to Diagon Alley, and I have a list of the school supplies he needed. Then we go to A Journey from Platform 9 3/4, and I have one of my favorite quotes here is Molly Weasley telling him, all you have to do is run straight in between the platforms 9 and 10. Then we have the Sorting Hat, which Harry is thinking, not Slytherin, not Slytherin, and of course, the Sorting Hat sorts him into Gryffindor. Then I had to go onto a different page, so now I have my next page. The arrows represent kind of like a flow chart of the different chapters, and I made sure to highlight the numbers here. I highlighted the numbers so that it was an easy to follow chart with the arrows. So we have the Potions Master, obviously talking about Snape, and he says, "I can teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, and even stopper death." Then over to chapter 9, The Midnight Duel. There wasn't much I could draw for this chapter because basically it's just Harry and Ron getting tricked by Draco Malfoy to get them in trouble. Basically, they're out of bed. So I put, "What is a wizard's duel?" said Harry. "And what do you mean you're my second?" He was talking to Ron there. Then for chapter 10, I have Halloween. And on Halloween, that was when, the troll was in the bathroom. Well, it went to the bathroom. It started off in the dungeon, according to the quote. Then over to chapter 11, we have the Quidditch chapter where Harry catches the snitch with he catches it in his mouth. So I have that quote here. Then we go over to chapter 12, the Mirror of Erised, which is desires spelled backwards. Desire spelled backwards. So then we have the famous quote from Dumbledore, "It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live." Remember that. I love that quote. Then over to chapter 13. Once again, there wasn't much to draw about Nicholas Flamel because the chapter is basically just them finding out who he is. And so we find out he's the only known maker of the Sorcerer's Stone. And sorry if anybody hasn't read the Harry Potter books and you're being spoiled right now, but I hate to tell you, it's 2020. You should have read them all by now. Next we have chapter 14, Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. That's the dragon that Hagrid hatched. And Ron says, "Hermione, how many times in our lives are we going to see a dragon hatching?" Then to chapter 15, the Forbidden Forest. This is when Harry has to do detention in the forest, and with Draco and Neville, and he sees this hooded figure feeding on a dead unicorn. So I have my unicorn here with the little X over its eyes because he died. He was killed, and every Harry Potter reader knows that it's a terrible act to slay a unicorn. Then chapter 16 through the trap door. One of my favorite chapters. There's a lot going on in this chapter as they go through the different puzzles that the professors have left to guard the Sorcerer's Stone. So Harry says, "They're not birds," Harry said suddenly. They're keys, winged keys." So they have to catch the winged key. Then the final chapter is The Man with Two Faces. And I used the quote from, actually, it's Voldemort saying, use the boy, talking to Professor Quirrell in order to get the Sorcerer's Stone. So yeah, this is my sketch note of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So I used a lot of different fonts and different visuals. You know, I drew baby Harry here. I have a snake. It's all easy stuff to draw. Nothing I really had to, be an artist to do. It's all just the way you make your visuals and just make things appeal to the eyes. And I think this is something that as a future teacher, I'm definitely going to use this in my classroom. I already consider myself to be pretty artistic, and especially with Spanish, I think it'll be fun to have, it doesn't always have to be drawings, but it can be flow charts, it can be graphic organizers. I consider this sketch note that I've made a flow chart, basically, because I'm going through chapter by chapter. I think it's important to have a lot of visuals in my classroom as a Spanish teacher, especially if the students are learning new vocab words, and I'll say, okay, draw this, and they have to understand they have to understand what I'm saying verbally, and then translate that in their mind visually to create a drawing. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how my sketch note turned out, and I can't wait to see everyone else's in the class and continue our show and tell, and also use what I've learned and apply it to my future classroom. So thank you for listening.